Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. In today's guide, you'll be learning the latest strategies in the current meta of Valorant that are used by the pros, and we're going to be featuring Fish 123 versus the Ninjas in Pajamas from the We Play Valorant Invitational. We'll be covering the strategies and tactics that the Ninjas use in this game to get a monumental lead, but then the strategies that Fish 123 used to make a phenomenal comeback. And if you utilize these exact same strategies, you'll be well on your way to playing like the top players in the game. So enough hype, let's jump right into it. Before we get into the strategies, let's get into the agents that have become quite meta recently in Valorant. And you'll notice that both teams have in their compositions for this map, and the first up is Cypher. Cypher continues to be an agent at the highest tier due to being the only agent with abilities that can gather a great deal of information, along with his tripwires that can add increased stalling power in combination with a cyber cage and revealed enemy outline for easy initial kills. So he's an agent that is incredibly useful on defender side, but also on the attacker side, and should be picked whenever possible. Next up, Omen has been another agent that has started becoming very popular amongst the pros after the recent buff to his abilities. Now that he can cancel his ultimate, Omen is able to get free information on enemy locations, and the increased smoke timer and buff to his blind make him a terrifying agent to face. He goes right in hand with Brimstone now as a powerful controller, and is a great pick to add to your team composition. Lastly, Sova is an agent that really didn't go through many changes, but has started to become used more and more often. His abilities allow his team to get so much free information that he's now been selected almost as often as some of the other high tier agents now. His Recon Owl and Owl drone allow you to identify enemy locations to know where to place your crosshair during a push, but they also allow you to identify the best site to attack. For these reasons, Sova is now very popular amongst the pros, and you'll see that NIP and Fish 123 have all three of these agents in this match. Starting off with the pistol round, we have a pretty passive defense from the Ninjas that turns into a surprise aggression. NIP actually doesn't contest middle at all and decides to play far back on the sites. The pros of doing this is you have more people on the actual sites with surprise angles to overwhelm the attackers. The issue though is that by giving up middle, you free up positions that the attackers can then split push through, such as Cat and Courtyard. By giving up this middle control, they allow Fish 123 to walk up into Cat for free. Because of this, NIP has to react and contest a choke point in order to prevent themselves from getting overwhelmed, and this is where you see Omen and Sova push onto A-Long to get that information, and Omen ends up doing more than that and grabbing himself 2 frags. Knowing those player positions, the Ninjas now know it's likely to be an A hit, and they can rotate and react accordingly. Versus if they had not gone for an aggressive push, knowing that they don't have any map control, they would have gotten easily overwhelmed by a 2-pronged attack from A-Long and Cat. Now what you can take from this play is to play more aggressively when you don't have a lot of map control. For example, if I started off on Ascent contesting mid and I end up missing my shot and having to back away, I have now given up middle and have allowed the attackers to get control of it. Just like in the clip we just saw, the attackers can then either push straight through middle for a B split, or they can push through Cat for an A split. In order to prevent this from happening, your team may want to pick a choke point to push in order to regain control of other parts of the map. You could do this by pushing A long like we just saw earlier, or by pushing through B garage. One thing to note is that if you do decide to do this aggressive play, you should have an extra player with you to ensure that you either get the pick or you get traded by your teammate. By making this aggressive play, you now have regained control of a choke point and have a better idea of where the enemy team is likely positioned to better defend the appropriate sites. This is also especially important to do if you're on the defender and you are a man down. With less players to defend a site, it's much easier for the attackers to push through and overwhelm your team, so you need to make a play happen to try to even the numbers, and an aggressive push on defense is definitely one way to achieve that. Another quick example is in this round where Fish 123 do an aggressive play to get 2 immediate picks onto the B site. If NIP try to play this round normally 3 versus 5, they have a very unlikely chance of winning the round. So in response, 2 players try to push through A long. It doesn't work out though, as Fish 123 were prepared for it, but these are the kind of moves that you may need to make when you are at a man disadvantage. Jumping right into our next strategy, the post pistol buy round. Depending on what happens in the pistol round, you'll have a certain number of credits available to you. If you won the round, you have more credits, and if you lost the round, you have less credits. One thing to note though is that if you successfully get the spike planted on the attacker side and got a good amount of eliminations in that round, you actually are fairly close to the number of credits that the winning defenders have. As a result, you actually can purchase equipment that's relatively similar to what the defenders have, and you should do so to catch the defenders off guard. You can see in the second round of this map that Fish 123 are actually very well equipped considering the loss. They have armor as well as specters, which is exactly what the defenders have as well, and some of them actually were only able to purchase a stinger. As a result, the side that lost the pistol round actually has the higher chance of winning the round. You can see that it's another passive hold by the ninjas, and Fish 123 execute a 5-man push onto the A site. Not only do they have similar equipment to make this push work, but they also coordinate their abilities really well during this hit. If we slow this down, you'll see that Omen threw a flash at Generator, Breach threw his aftershock at Tetris, and Sage threw her slow orb up at Heaven. This forced the defenders to have to split up and get into awkward positions that allowed the attackers to pick them off more easily. The two defenders on the site were wiped off, and then the third defender, Sova, was actually unable to help his team as he was slowed off at Heaven like we said. So overall, if you were able to get a spike down and grab a good amount of kills in the pistol round, you should have enough money to purchase nearly the same equipment as the defenders, and you should do this to give yourself the best chance of winning round 2, which will then force the defenders into a round 3 eco, giving you an extra round win off of that. Coming in next, what you'll see at the professional level is teams making sure that they push onto sites from multiple angles, and this is what Fish 123 did on a more advanced level. Usually when trying to split push onto a site, you'll try to approach the site from multiple choke points. For example, you may want to attack the B site of Ascent by pushing through middle and also going through garage. This way you'll have players coming from multiple directions, thus increasing the positions that the defenders need to look out for during the push. However, if the site is wide enough, you can also split push onto a site from one choke point, and doing this properly can greatly enhance the chance of you winning the round. You can see Fish 123 does this perfectly with their execute from B garage. They throw their abilities like we mentioned in the previous clip, and instead of running straight into the site, some of the players actually go to control room as well as back of spawn to spread the agents out and then push onto the actual site itself. With this approach, the on-site defenders have a much harder time trying to watch all these different angles. They're forced to divide their attention, and as a result, they get easily overwhelmed by the push. Reyna has to fight a 1 vs 3, and Omen has to go with a 1 vs 2 against the attacking Sage and Breach. Just like that, the site was divided in half by the attacking side, and Fish 123 were able to easily pick up that round afterwards. Now this next strategy requires a little more coordination, but can still be executed with your pre-made team as well as solo queue, and it is the site fake. When playing attacker side, you want to keep the defenders on their toes regarding where the attack may be, and a fake can be a perfect way of drawing the defenders' attention, which causes them to rotate to the wrong site. In this round by Fish 123, they're actually planning to attack the B site, but you see that 2 of their teammates are actually still on A. These 2 players are acting as a distraction, and they sell it perfectly. A Sova drone comes out that spots them, and immediately afterwards you see on the map that an NIP completely rotated out of the B site, and as a result Fish 123 then executes onto B and essentially takes it for free. Now some players may argue that you usually want to have all 5 of your players for the push, and yes, this would be ideal, but if the enemy team knows which site you're already pushing to, then they may have enough players to stop your attack. With this fake, the defenders fell for the bluff and ended up with inadequate numbers to even stop the 3-man push. So this strategy was what allowed them to get onto the site with fewer members. Another thing to note is that the players faking A do also have another role during the round, and this is to pick off players that are trying to rotate over to B. There isn't enough time for these players to actually get onto the B site to join their teammates, so their main goal after performing the fake is to catch off anyone from middle and A that may be trying to rotate over to B, making it very difficult for rotations to happen for the defenders to try to play retake in time. You can see that the A defenders have to spend extra time checking cat for these players, and they get a pick, but it's immediately traded out by Scream, thus further decreasing the defender players and time that the defenders have to try to take back the site and win the round. Alright, we're going to go into more insane strategies in just a moment, but we're going to take a quick break from that to go over some advanced individual plays that Fish 123 did this game that you guys should definitely try out and be aware of. These plays will definitely surprise the enemy and give your team that additional edge, so make sure to try these plays as well. First up is checking the B Garage Sage boost. This is a common boost that some players may do to try to check for players on site. If you hear a Sage wall coming up in Garage, chances are this is exactly what they're trying to do, and you can see that window from practically anywhere on the site. The safest position to try to check this window is the back of site like Sage. You can see that the attacking Sage was not expecting someone to be prepared for the wall boost, and as a result, Link gets a quick kill onto her, and with Cypher on site as well, they're able to get multiple kills before the Fish 123 were able to get the spike down. Another agent you want to look out for is Jet in this position if she has her ultimate up, as she can updraft to peek the window and surprise players on site. This works really well for this agent as her floating jump mechanic allows her ample time to line up the kill. Next, we have a really impressive Sova combo that allows Fish 123 to clutch a very important overtime round. And using your abilities to supplement your aim can be incredibly useful in these 1 vs 2 situations. Sokus was able to hear that someone was defusing the spike, and his team likely relayed that the Omen was low on health, so he fires a shock dart after hearing the spike being tapped and follows it up with a great peek to the back of the site to get both defenders in quick succession. Going into the round 17, we'll see an unusual play by Sokus on Sova that really emphasizes the importance of keeping your location hidden from the enemy team. In this round, you'll see NIP going for a push onto the B site, and Sokus reacts with Sova by using his ultimate onto Garage. However, he actually doesn't use all 3 charges and stops firing after the first charge. This is because he missed the first shot, indicating that the attackers have either pushed past Garage or they're still back at Garage. Knowing that they could have pushed, it's risky to continue firing his ultimate as he continues revealing his location, and he could be easily taken out if the attackers are close by the site and B. If the attackers aren't practically on site already, they could easily push through the ultimate and get an easy site take. So instead of further firing his ultimate, Sokus goes back to the rifle to keep his location hidden on where exactly he is on the site, but also to allow him to check multiple choke points easier and quicker to get some rifle engagements versus a 70 damage ultimate that likely won't kill. This next strategy is incredibly powerful but needs to be used with caution, and that is lurking. Lurking can be used on the attacker side, and it is when your team is trying to stay in a position that's close to the site and unknown to enemy defenders. What the lurker can do from this position is catch enemy defenders that are trying to rotate onto the site, and gives another factor that the defenders have to consider when trying to play retake. In this round, you can see that Fish 123 is able to successfully push onto the B site and eliminate the players that were defending it. While this is happening, if we look at the map, we'll see Cypher has creeped up onto middle and is hiding Pizza to catch anyone that decides to rotate to B through mid. The ninjas actually were able to spot Cypher and identify his location, but you can see that it heavily slows down the rotate regardless, and Cryptix actually manages to eliminate both mid players that challenged him. So you can see that this lurker position gave the attackers that extra time to freely plant the spike and hold the spike due to this lurk by Cryptix. Now the reason I'm saying to be careful when trying to play this lurking role is that it's heavily based on team play. You cannot get to these powerful positions without your team successfully working the site elsewhere. Otherwise, the defenders will not rotate, they'll hold their positions, and you'll likely get yourself picked off, or you'll end up in a scenario where you're just the last man standing and the rest of your team was eliminated trying to push the site. So if you do decide to lurk during a round, make sure you make this clear to your team, and I'd recommend doing this more if you're playing with a team and have good communication and team play. Alright, so what are your favorite agents to play on Ascent? Let us know in the comment section below, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind: helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.